All right, folks, welcome to another XenTegra webinar Wednesdays. I got a great guest today. I got my friends from Liquidware, and we're going to talk about app layering done right. And we're going to focus on the technology itself. However, we're going to spin it into how does it play with Microsoft WVD. So we'll cover some key things I know that is a big issue in the enterprise that I'm seeing today around the adoption of WVD and how Liquidware is helping that. So my name is Pete Downing. I'm the CMTO of XenTegra. I am your host today. And with me, I have three great gentlemen from Liquidware who I've known a long time and excited to have on my webinar Wednesdays this week. First, I'd like to introduce Jason Smith. Jason, if you want to give yourself a quick introduction.
Thanks, Pete. We are happy to be on this webinar. I'm so glad to see a great audience attendance as well as participation. Looking forward to that. I head up our product marketing with the technical side, so you'll hear some from me today.
All right, next we got Mark, and I'll say Mark K, so we don't get Mark and Mark confused. So Mark, if you want to give yourself a quick introduction.
Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Mark Naus. I'm Senior Director of Alliances and System Integration. Means I have a great time liaising with folks like Pete and also doing some fun technical work. Glad to be here.
All right. Nice, and he knows the product inside and out, so he'll be our demo guy today. So, and then finally we got Mr. Jones, not to be confused with the song. So, Mark, if you want to give yourself a quick intro.
Gotcha. Appreciate it, Pete. First of all, really enjoying working with your team out in the field. My name's Mark Jones. I'm the territory manager for the Southern region. Work throughout the South, and any questions, obviously, let me know. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks, guys, for taking the time today. I appreciate it. All right, so just for housekeeping, we are using what's called GoToWebinar. I think everybody's hopefully familiar with this platform. One of the things I will encourage is if you have a question, please ask. There is the Q&A dialogue, and guess what? We do pay attention to it, and I try to interject the questions where they are relevant. Sometimes I'll interrupt and say, hey, I got a great question. So definitely ask questions. We want to hear from you because that helps drive the conversation. So today we are going to jump in. We're just going to do a quick introduction. I like to do polls for those who have attended my sessions in the past. I ask some, very pointed questions around, the topic today. And then I'm going to toss the baton over to Liquidware and let them dive into not only their technology, but give us a great demo. I'm really excited. And then finally just end cap with final questions and a quick overview on how XenTegra and Liquidware are working together. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited. And if you haven't already, definitely check out our XenTegra.com/webinars. If you go there, we got a great webinar next week with Control Up, and the list is going to continue to grow. I'm trying to bring on as many technology vendors that I work with and topics over the next, through the end of the year. I'm actually blocking out every Wednesday through the end of the year. So this is going to be a common spot. So definitely bookmark that page. And also, I got a great, and I'm excited to highlight this, but if you go to events, XenTegra.com/events, later today, I will be launching officially the workshop. So if you want to learn how to use Liquidware, we got one of our great SEs, Randy Price, is going to be running the workshop. It's going to be about a 4-hour commitment, actually 3-hour commitment. And it's we're going to put those dates out there later today. So keep an eye out for those. And you definitely want to sign up because I believe space will be limited. And then finally, some of us love podcasts. Some of us like videos. I'm a video guy, but Andy, our founder and CEO, loves podcasts. And guess what? He does his own podcast. It's called the Citrix Session. Definitely head over to our podcast page and check out those, or go on your device and open up Spotify, iTunes, and search for XenTegra, and you'll get some awesome podcasts to listen to, everything ranging from Citrix topics to why Citrix. So it's very Citrix focused, but parallel, I'm actually launching a podcast of my own. So keep an eye out for that. I have some great guests coming up, and I'm going to be launching that very soon. All right, so before we jump in, I like to take a couple polls. One, to see, hey, is everybody awake? And two, just get you guys a little involved to help us hopefully answer some questions that might be burning and also focus on some key areas. So the first question I'm going to ask is, how are you delivering technology today? And so, you know, applications today. So are you using some type of app layering technology? Are you using another methodology like SCCM? Pick any that pertain to you. And if other is in that bucket, then pick other. And we made this multi-selection on purpose because we know you're using multiple tools. So yeah, take a minute to fill this out. I like to get at least 60% or higher participation. And again, this is anonymous. No one else can see it. And the data is not exposed. So just FYI. So we'll give it a couple more seconds. Make sure everybody's awake. Going once. Last call. All right, and let's share the results. So we got a lot of folks, and I think the gentleman would agree, Mark and Jason and Mark would agree that, yeah, we probably see a lot of SCCM out there alongside of AppV. You know, we got a lot of experts on the phone today. So if you have any questions around AppV versus, you know, just general layering, AppV versus MSIX, which is a new buzzword that you're probably hearing in the industry right now, we're definitely willing to answer those questions. And anybody who put other, you know, feel free to ping me after the meeting. You'll get an email from me through the GoToMeeting platform, and also directly. Let me know what you're using. We're curious. You know, I love hearing the technologies that you're using. All right, let's talk about you know, virtual desktops, Windows Virtual Desktop. Are you considering using Microsoft WVD, Windows Virtual Desktop? So I give you guys a bunch of answers. Pick the one that pertains to you. And you know, this is more of a curiosity question. And so I'll give you guys a couple seconds. I like to, again, at least get 60% to keep them statistically relevant. You know, I'm a data guy. Any of the XenTegra sales folks that are listening in today probably are laughing. And we'll give this a couple more seconds. And I love participation because it helps us, again, drive the conversation. All right, so going once, last call, going twice, and going 3 times. And we got a great response rate on this one. So here we go. We got a lot of folks saying not on the radar. All right. And I hope today we can help you address the not on the radar. And one of the things we'll talk about is applications within WVD, but just generally applications and how Liquidware is really, I think, you know, a game changer in how you manage applications today. So we're really going to talk about that, and we'll augment that into the WVD story. And Mark has a great demo, I think, where he's going to show a lot of how this plugs into WVD, at least the sneak peek I saw. All right, let's talk about public cloud. So just quick anecdote question. What public cloud are you considering? So again, pick the one you're most considering, because I know you could probably have 2 or 1, or and then if you're not doing any cloud, then just say it. You know, we want to know. This helps us, again, drive data and help, you know, maybe help you. All right. So again, this helps us drive the conversation. So, and I can expect what the answer is going to be, which is kind of funny, because if this was 3 years ago, I think it would be flip-flopped. Hopefully everybody would agree. All right, going once, twice, 3 times, and boom, we're getting a lot of responses this time, so I love it. So Azure's king. Again, I bet you if this was 3 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, it'd be Amazon would be king, which is kind of funny to see now. But yeah, Azure's making a big splash, and I'm excited. So again, any questions around, you know, Azure and WVD, you know, we can hone in on that today as well, and definitely keep the questions coming. And then finally, are you using Office 365? And when I say Office 365, you know, talking about the whole stack, so Teams, Office, Azure AD, etc. But more importantly, how are you using Exchange? Are you doing it with on-prem, hybrid? I should put /hybrid, or are you doing full-on Exchange online? And then, yeah, every now and again, we do get someone that says, hey, we're using Google, which good for you. And we'll let this one come in. Again, going once. Last call, going twice, and going 3 times. All right, so we got a good amount of people using Exchange online. A funny story. So I've been asking this question now for about 3 years, and you know, this flip-flop big time. So back 3 years ago, it was everybody still on-prem, and it's slowly creeping over to Exchange Online. And if you have any questions about, you know, Office 365, what's called Fast Track, definitely reach out. We can educate you on the value of Fast Track. All right, so thank you for playing. You know, and I appreciate everybody taking a chance to answer. And if you couldn't click anything, I apologize. That might be a glitch in the web app if you're using the web app. All right, so if you're not following Liquidware and or XenTegra on any of the social media platforms, please do, right? We have lots of great mediums as far as sharing information. You know, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I am, you know, behind the Twitter as well as the Instagram as well. So, and then for those who still talk to grandma on Facebook, we definitely still post there as well. Although Facebook seems to be losing its luster with the youngins, right? And then finally, let's dive in, and I'm going to pass the baton over to the team, and we're going to start diving into Liquidware and getting a little more detailed view. And again, before we dive in, I encourage questions as we go through the day today, and I will be keeping an eye on those, and I will make sure that they get asked in a good fashion and where the content is relative. So I'm going to pass it over to Jason. And Jason, thanks for joining us today. And Mark, thanks for joining us today. And I'm going to let you guys jump in and show us Liquidware.
Thanks, Pete. And again, thanks for having us on. Boy, I love those polls. And I stopped what I was doing a second ago and sent it to our marketing director and said, hey, the next webinar we do, and I think we're going to do one on Liquidware Unplugged. It's going to be similar to this format where it's a lot of open dialogue. I told him that's a reminder, we're going to use those polls or a similar thing approach on ours, because it really will, we really value your answers, and we will customize the presentation as we move along for that. I do have a few slides to go through just to introduce some of you to Liquidware that may not quite know about us. And then we're going to focus on more of a back and forth. Love the questions, as Pete said, and also the product demo that we will focus in on. So Liquidware has an adaptive workspace management suite. It's the only vendor out there that has a suite that covers a lot of these bases that you would normally go to a vertical like tool within your Citrix stack or VMware stack or something like that to leverage. But our solution works across any way you deliver Windows. So if you've got a mixture of the way that you deliver Windows, and you're looking at moving to WVD, for example, we are a perfect fit to manage your user across disparate delivery types. So you're looking to move from one platform to another, or maybe you have multiple platforms in your environment. It's a great solution to answer those needs. And we go above and beyond the vertical tools from some of those platform vendors in many ways. So we supersede the need to use most of those with superior features, and working across both virtual cloud and physical, as you see on here. But user environment management through a solution called Profile Unity, so that's secure policy management, it's application rights management, the management of your user data. It works with solutions, can work with profile tools such as a FSLogic's profile disk, for example, and then append to it and make your user experience even better to go cross OS and things like that, and to get far more granular and to have policy management all under one umbrella. It also incorporates the ability to manage FlexApp, which is listed here as a separate solution, but it is an integrated part of our Profile Unity solution. So you have one control management console to manage both. FlexApp is application layering. We a lot of times call it application attachment because we focus on applications themselves and not so much the OS patches and things like that. We don't do that at all. We say keep your base image management lean and mean, and then attach your applications, and you'll see all about that today, and that's where we're going to spend most of our time. We also have Stratosphere for monitoring and diagnostics, and Stratosphere UX stands for user experience, knowing the user experience of your user, whether that is in the planning phase, so you run it on your legacy desktops when you're about to embark on a big new virtual desktop project, for example, to identify hardware and candidates that would likely be a great fit for whatever platform you're going to, such as WVD. It can give you decision support for a path to move forward, know what applications are installed and which ones are being used. So you start to think about your application strategy. And then once you move over into it helps you size that environment too, by the way. And then once you move over into a production phase with something like WVD or Citrix or VMware, it helps you to in-depth monitoring and diagnostics, so you can use it for troubleshooting, for the help desk staff to know what's going on, and to head off mission critical, to head off things that are trending downward before they become mission critical issues in the environment, so you can right size the environment or tune it accordingly. It gives you in-depth metrics from everywhere from the desktop to the server to the application servers and the network itself, to give you a user experience score. So again, we're spending most of our time on application layering today, and that is with our FlexApp solution. So what is FlexApp? It's it supports multiple platforms with universal app delivery. And what I mean by that is that if you're delivering a FlexApp in a Citrix environment today, it will work in a WVD environment. There's no need to repackage, as you'll see today. It'll work across OS versions, and it's easy to update those applications as well with our central packaging console. Applications on demand are another reason that some organizations use us. So we have a click to layer feature. If you deliver an application this way, it's one of 3 ways: at boot time, at login time, or with click to layer. So 3 ways to attach an application. If the user doesn't click on the application, it's not layered, and that's what click to layer means. Only then is it layered just in time. It supports remote and work from home strategies. So if you need to quickly deliver applications to your virtual desktop environment, you don't have to mess with your base images at all. You can deploy an application very quickly, as you'll see in the demo today, and give additional users that application. It even works with application publishing strategies, so you can make those available in HTML browser and things like that without having to give the user full-blown desktops. It also works with things like Amazon AppStream. But with WVD, works across that and the ability to get those applications, especially if you're using WVD to deliver something like Server 2019, so you can publish the application as a FlexApp too without modifying the base image. Fast packaging, because you can package up an app as fast as it is to install it, basically, and there's no additional need to keep looking at the OS and monitoring the OS. It's because we focus on the application itself. You'll see today it packages very, very quickly. The only thing we add in addition to the install time is to quickly provision a VHT that the application will be saved to on the sys share or in cloud storage, and you'll see that as I stated today. It gives you high availability by being able to cache applications down to the endpoint. So if you have a network hiccup or something like that, your application doesn't go down because the application is then eventually cached down on the endpoint or the endpoint server, and that's great for VDI as well as for server-based computing. So it supports multiple clouds from all the vendors that you see there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you'll see references to Profile Unity today. Now, you can license up FlexApp, but almost everyone that has ever looked at FlexApp will also license Profile Unity, and that's because you control both with the same central management console, and you get the best of both worlds. You get a truly managed environment that will go from them with the user from OS to OS, from delivery method to delivery method. For example, if you're in VMware Horizon today, you can move over to WVD, and vice versa. You can go back and forth, even across OS version. So those little things that I'm telling you right in there are big differentiators from the tools in the market that do UEM, right? So we go far above those use cases. And it gives you secure policy management. It gives you application rights management. It easily supports work from home strategies because we fully support all platforms out there in the market for delivering virtual desktops. As long as you're managing Windows, then Profile Unity supports it. The best case is for a well-connected desktop. So laptops that go offline for extended periods of time and never authenticate to AD might not be the best to manage with Profile Unity, but those that have sessions for Citrix or WVD or VMware or whatever, those are great and ideal candidates as well. And we can give you a consistent user experience across all those. Everything's context aware in there. So the same policies that apply to mapping drives and printers and also to delivering a FlexApp. So that might be you're in the human resources department, so you get this set of applications. You have attached, or you have authenticated and signed in inside the building, so you get these secure applications. If you log in remotely or from home, maybe there's compliance reasons why you cannot have those, so we make those not available. So context aware settings assigning printers where you are and things like that. That's what that means. Those same context-aware settings can be leveraged for any kind of policy. Once you create one, they can follow that user, and you can have a very context-aware and location-aware experience. So the reasons why organizations choose FlexApp is because we really streamline base image management when it comes to especially virtual environments where you might have non-persistent desktops, or you might have and want to treat even your servers that are providing your virtual desktops like XenApp or RDS and others. You want to treat those as like non-persistent as you can, keep the base image light and bright, and that is that you can add an application without ever touching the base image. You can use a separate packaging console, and then basically you attach the application. And 3 times I said, at boot time, login time, or click to layer. So more ways to attach an application than anyone else in the industry. We also are able to assign those applications uniquely per department. Those context-aware settings that I mentioned go a long way to doing that. We really simplify the application packaging and updates. It really truly is fast packaging. It doesn't take you 30 minutes to package a small app, or even a large app. It does it in real time. Again, the amount of time that it takes you to actually install that app is about the same amount of time it takes you to package it. And then once it's packaged, you can avoid the repackaging anytime you make an OS update. So many of you know Windows 10, for example, has 5 or 6 or 7 versions now. I've lost count. But once you package up the app, there's no need to, it won't break every time you update the OS. And that is refreshingly different from other approaches out there that also layer parts of the OS and things like that. And that one central management console that you see in Profile Unity is leveraged to deliver your Flex apps and also manage your full user environment as well. This recaps a lot of the things I said. So if you hear us say things like fast packaging, you'll know what we're talking about. You package them once and they'll work across there. We have cloud apps that are built in. So if you were to download and play with this afternoon, you wouldn't even have to package anything. We have about 14 to 20 cloud apps out there that you'll see in the console that you can immediately attach to your virtual environment and give this a try without even packaging one thing. So the ability to deploy these applications very quickly, as you'll see again here. Session isolation, so when you're dealing with server-based computing, and by that I mean like an RDS environment of server 2016 and 19, you can have that one base image. The HR department gets their apps, the accounting department gets their apps, the shop floor gets their apps, and you leverage that same Citrix, or in this case, WVD multi-session 10 environment, and you don't have to keep repackaging applications on each individual silo set of servers. You leverage all users to attach to one image, and the applications come in. User A does not necessarily see what user B has, even though they're hitting the same exact environment. You might hear us mention micro isolation today. Now, FlexApp is very native. If the application works in a traditionally physical type Windows environment, there's a great chance that FlexApp can deliver and attach that. We don't fully isolate things to allow applications to run side by side. In that case, you might want to check out something like AppV to do that. In some cases, ThinApp to do that. They have their advantages in certain cases by doing that. On the other hand, FlexApp's very native. It looks and feels to other apps. They know that they're there. You don't have to keep things in a bubble. They look and act very native. They react with the OS very native, and it has a very high degree of compatibility of being attached with FlexApp. For that very reason, we do have micro isolation, and what that means is that if application A had a DLL that conflicted with application B or C or later that you've packaged at another date, they could both be in the same environment, and when we see that small micro conflict, we'll reach back to the VHD container and we'll quickly leverage that other DLL or copy it and use that DLL. So that's where you get micro isolation. It simplifies packaging. It's not full isolation, it's a different thing. So those are some of the reasons why you would want to choose FlexApp. And for the architecture today, you saw 2 slides there. This one, we'll go with the cloud architecture. Now keep in mind, everything that I'm about to tell you about the architecture also applies to if you want to run this on-prem. So anytime I say the word cloud, just think you could also use a CIS drive if this was something you needed to run on-prem for some reason. And since we're talking mostly about WVD on today's webinar, we would be talking about Microsoft Azure when we're talking about this, and we'll also be talking about OneDrive. So you have everything you need highly likely already in your environment, especially because of that poll question that we saw earlier with Microsoft Azure. Most of you are on Azure. You have everything that you need to run Profile Unity and FlexApp today. And that is any set of desktops that can access that environment. In this case, WVD desktops were already in the cloud. And then you have object-based storage data points out there, and that would be on Azure. And you may have set up a file share too, so that's okay. Set up a file share instead of leveraging the object-based from an Azure blob. And in that regard, you would have everything needed to run Profile Unity deployed when you install Profile Unity. It would ask for a file share, and in most cases, that would be the netlog on file share. It's already got the parameters that you need to kind of hook the agent and for the services to be made available to the endpoint. And a group policy is rolled out to the endpoints, in this case, the WVD session. When the user logs in, that group policy says, run this or cache these credentials and agent and services down to the endpoint, or maybe you've baked those in and you don't have to cache them down to the endpoint. And the client, Profile Unity client's immediately activated at login. It runs, and you'll see that in today's demo. If you're managing the full user environment, fully leveraging Profile Unity, it will also make sure your profiles are in sync, that they are in sync across, for example, multiple FSLogix profile disks from environment to environment, that they will continue to work across multiple OS environments, that you can go very in depth. If you're not leveraging that, you'll still get to run policy management across there, map drives and printers, do some context-aware settings. If you're not leveraging that, that's the time that you'd go straight to FlexApp, and the FlexApps would also be attached by the Profile Unity agent, and the Profile and the FlexApp services, so filter driver, will make sure that those FlexApp containers that are also saved out there to object-based storage, as you see out there, FlexApp VHDs to object-based storage. In this case, we'll stick with the Azure example. Those are attached. Those FlexApp filter drivers make sure that the registry and the file system know that that application is fully available to run from that attached container, in this case, a VHD on Azure. If you're leveraging our profile disk, that would be also saved out there to a CIS drive or SMB. You could also run FSLogix, for example, because we're fully compatible with that as well. And then for user authored data, if you're leveraging Profile Unity in its full way, we could redirect any shell folders out there to OneDrive. We'll stick with that example because we're talking about Microsoft WVD. So the only thing that you need to run is, in addition to this, is the Profile Unity Management Console, and that could run on any Azure-based server instance out there. It doesn't have to even be dedicated. It might be a server that you use for other purposes. And in that case, that's your management console, and you'll see that in today's demo. And that management console is the orchestrator for a small INI file that actually gets saved out here that the agent looks to for all these instructions that I just went through. So you have everything that needed already, especially if you're only dedicating one additional management console as a server. Nothing to procure, nothing to buy except for Azure storage. All right, that is an overview of Profile Unity and FlexApp with a focus on FlexApp. And Pete, we have any questions coming in while we switch this over to demo mode for Mark Naus to be able to demonstrate this?
Yeah, not yet, but yeah, again, I encourage questions as we dig into the demo now, and I'm going to be passing the baton over to Mr. Mark. Make you presenter, Mark. And as you're sharing your screen, again, we encourage questions. Definitely want questions come in. I am keeping an eye on the Q&A dialog box, so please do ask questions. And I'm looking forward to this demo. So this is actually the first time I have seen this demo, so I might even have some questions.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. Can see my screen. Hey, everybody, how's it going? I'm Mark. I'm so happy to be here. Let's have some fun with this. I was a little daring with the demo today, so let's see how it goes. Okay, I like to just try some different things and do it live, no videos. So let's kick it off. As you can see here, I've got the remote desktop client up on my screen, and I've got two WVD tenants. The first one contains all of my published applications. The second one contains my desktops. Now, these applications are special because they are all delivered via FlexApp on boot, okay? And I'm going to get into that. But first, I want to launch PowerPoint and kind of back up some of the things that Jason had said. So I'm currently launching, and this is coming from Office 365, from my FlexApp, from WVD. And the reason I just want to go through this is, oh, I still got to sign in. I wanted to talk about the demo, what I'm going to do, some of the tools that I'm going to use, and just to highlight some of the points that Jason made. I'm taking more of an architect perspective, and why I like FlexApp and why I came to work with Liquidware is, well, it might sound corny, but flexibility. As an architect, I need to build my environments based on my platform, my architecture, my technical, security, and user requirements. FlexApp allows me the flexibility to use attach on boot, at logon, and click the layer, and I can mix and match this based on any of those requirements. Also, I can support a myriad of storage types: on-premises, cloud, object-based, a storage service like a NetApp Files from Azure. It just gives me so many options, and I need that. I need that for the cloud adoption framework pillars of operational stability, performance, cost efficiency, these things that we go to the cloud for. FlexApp allows me to really enhance those and take advantage of them. But when we go to WVD, it's not for the faint of heart, okay? Way back when we did Citrix back in the early 2000s, our Windows OS was easy. Man, we didn't even run antivirus on some of these. Today, it's a different game. With the semi-annual channel releases of Windows, like Jason mentioned, it's lather, rinse, repeat. Image management is a behemoth. Now, we have three different styles: zero, which I call a zero cost image, a thin, and a baked. Sadly, we all seem to go with baked. Build the OS, throw all the applications down with SCCM, and manage that over time. And if you've done anything in WVD with templates, snapshots, disks, and images, this is what it looks like. It gets really out of hand. So what I love about FlexApp is the ability to create the leanest possible image and package my applications in FlexApp and deploy them either on boot, at logon, or click the layer. So in today's demo, we will demonstrate FlexApp delivery methods to best suit certain WDB platforms. We will show WVD remote apps, which I just did. And I'm going to show a Windows 10 multi-session pool using an ephemeral disk. Okay, now I've read a lot of blogs, but I've never really seen it in action. So this is the part where let's do something fun and different. And then I'm going to show you the FlexApp packaging console, and I'm going to package the app and store it on Azure Blob. Some of the tools you'll see me, popping in out screens will be Azure Portal, WVD Management Portal, the Profile Unity Console, the FlexApp Packaging Console, the FPC, and of course the remote desktop client. And I may even throw a stopwatch in there to time some of our logins. Okay. So as I mentioned, all of these are delivered via FlexApp. Well, how do I prove that? Well, remember Jason mentioned that FlexApps are nothing but a VHD. So I'm going to run disk management and show you these VHDs attached to this server. Now, being that these are published apps, these VHDs are all attached on boot. And as you can see, there's probably about 15 of them. And also, Jason mentioned, some of these are our cloud apps. Some of them I package. Some of them are in Azure. Some of them are on a file server in Azure. And some of them are in AWS on a service called FSX. So again, let's have fun with this. Let's see if it really works. All right, so that's what's running on this published app instance right here. And as I click through these, I love to do this. Let's just open a bunch of stuff, see if I could break it. Let's see what happens. It's pretty snappy. It's like native. as I go through. So rest assured, the performance is just as good as native. Okay, and again, all these are delivered on boot. They're available for the user. And that's important because in a published app scenario, I want to make sure those application launches are as fast as possible. They're available when the user clicks on it. Users hate to sit there and look at a spinning wheel. They don't have confidence in the product. They don't want to use it. We get the classic complaints. Citrix is slow or WVD is slow. You can see where I come from. So we want to make sure these apps run as fast as possible. All right. So switching gears a little bit here, where do you go to get the Liquidware products within Azure? Jason brought up something really cool. You could stand up a POC in a matter of a half hour, and you can get cloud apps working right out of the box. You don't need to package anything. If you just go to the Azure portal and search for Liquidware, create a resource, search for Liquidware, you'll see Profile, Unity, and FlexApp. Now, currently, if you click Create, you're going to go through the Azure VM Create Wizard, and you will use a trial license and BYOL. We are working on hourly pricing, but that's a roadmap feature. So that's where you would go just to get kick-started with Profile, Unity, and FlexApp. Through the demo, we're going to focus on FlexApp, but Profile, Unity, they go hand in hand. They're so symbiotic. They work together. They're designed together to enhance each other. So when we migrate from one semi-annual channel release to another, we'll use Profile, Unity, and FlexApp. Profile, Unity deliver the data, user settings via portability, and then FlexApp to deliver the applications. All right, so let's log in to a Windows 10 multi-session using an ephemeral disk, okay? And all of the applications delivered via FlexApp. There are no applications installed. Before I do that though, I want to show you the machines I'm going to log in, and just to show you that they are stateless, as I like proof. I'm an engineer. Show me, don't tell me. So disks, ephemeral disk, okay? And I'll do a host name when I log in so you can see. All right, I have a pool here of 3, stateless 1, 2, and 3. All right. I'm really going to test myself. Let's time this login. So as I start to log in here, I'm going to have some apps on startup, some delivered at login, and others click to layer. And I do that because perhaps the main applications that my users need to use are on startup, but then they have these ancillary apps that they might use once a week, right? But then they have apps that they use once a month. Those I might use as click to layer. And it's really important that a user sees the icons, okay? If they know their apps are supposed to be there, even if they don't use it, it's very important to them. It's a lot like for us folks who are used to build to lossless, seeing the image makes you feel that it's there, even though it's just about to load. You have that confidence that it's there. So I'm fully loaded. I have all of my apps. I have this core here, these 12 apps, okay? Those are my startup apps. I'm gonna move these over here. That's an app at login. That's an app at login. And so is that. And then I have these 3 that are all click to layer.
So Mark, a question came in since we're in the VM. I think it's very valid. So Brian asked, and I think the app is going to be independent of the question he's asking. So does this support virtual workspaces, workstation using a GPU? So for example, if I targeted a workload that's using an NVIDIA GPU, the app's still going to act and function and leverage the GPU as if it was a normal app, correct?
Oh yeah, and I was up a little late last night, and I really wanted to show that demo of an architecture engineering firm because their application requirements are so vast and the applications are humongous, and that is definitely an area where FlexApp can help. You package AutoCAD, Revit, Bentley, Civil 3D, Solid Edge once, and then you deliver it to many. So we don't care whether it's GPU enabled, what SKU you're using within Azure, we'll work with it. The reason I didn't get the demo is they're so constrained on NV6 machines. I just couldn't provision it. I put in a ticket. I didn't hear back, but I really wanted to show that use case because that's a tough one.
Now,
right, so,
and then just out of curiosity, more of a question from me, but now if I wanted to speed up logon, right? Let's say I want logon to be, sub, let's say 30 seconds. I could do click to load apps as an option, right? And what's the downside? What's the benefit of doing, on load versus click to load apps?
So again, it's all a trade-off, right? I did a very heavy operation here. I brought apps in at login. More importantly, this is a first login profile. I delete the profile at log off. Remember the .man era. So to speed this up, some things I would do is limit my portability and things that I'm bringing in. There's certainly a lot of tuning. Most of the demos I do are all out of the box. A lot of times our customers work with our SEs and they have recipes that they give customers to say, okay, based on your environment, we're going to tune here and there. I have not added any antivirus exclusion, and as we know in the game, that is crucial to performance. So yeah, Pete, those are a few things I would just do. For the demo here, I love to keep it out of the box. So it can only get better from here. All right, so stateless 3, I'm in a stateless machine. Now the key with this ephemeral disk is when you reboot, you lose all of your rights. So you better make sure your images are good. And that is can't be understated. Even with automation, you make one mistake in that image, guess what? It's snapshot, disk, template, image. The whole process starts all over again. Could you imagine if you had 15 apps in there and you forgot one setting with them? Oh, wow. So focus on the OS, focus on your security posture, your agents, your monitoring, your inventory, get that automated, then deliver your apps via FlexApp. So what about those apps that I said were click to layer, Opera, Win, SCP, and Putty? Well, as soon as I click them, what happens is a layer comes in, it's being downloaded. Actually, Opera's coming from S3. Okay, it was just FlexApp, and boom, there it is. If I run disk management, I should now see it as a FlexApp layer.
One of the things you could do, Pete, with click to layer, to get back to that question too, is you can, if you think that users may never use an app, but you have licenses like enterprise licenses, there may be like 15 or 20 apps that you want to put out there as click to layer, and you don't take hardly any hit at login or reboot when you do a click to layer.
Right.
But if there's that rare chance that they use them, they have them there, and not always right on the desktop. You could even nest them under the start menu. They can find them, and it's almost like a self-serve app store in that regard, because then they are mounted and they're using them within that quick that you saw.
Yeah, so Jason just hit me up and said, hey, Mark, I don't like any of those browsers. I'm a Firefox guy. Okay, well, let's give them Firefox. So I'm going to come in here to the Profile Unity console. I'm going to go into my FlexApp departmental installed apps. I'm going to add a layer. And all of these on the right here, these are all our cloud apps. So like I said, you want to do a POC, install the appliance. It's automatically going to have the Profile Unity console installed. Create a guided INI, a configuration, and just drag and drop Firefox over here. Save it, and then deploy. It's that easy. Now
So that's the admin view. That's that quickly that you've just added a app in production to a user, and they would get that at boot time or log in or click to layer. We can even set up triggers, right, Mark? So you don't have to
Exactly.
reboot. You can check
Right.
for apps every 30 minutes, and if the administrator's provisioned you one, it'll just magically show up on the desktop.
Right. And that's essentially what I simulated there was a trigger. And there's Firefox. Oops, I don't want it there.
So Mark is another question. I guess I'm trying to get the audience to get some questions going. So your click to install app. So I noticed they're kind of what would you call that, a shortcut? And let's say, hypothetically, could I publish that inside of, let's say, a Citrix front end, or for example, if I'm going holistically across WVD, could I publish that as an app? Is that possible, or how does that work? So how does that icon actually work?
So within the Profile Unity console, it's the same app packaged once, consumed many, and you would, based on your architecture and your user personas and requirements, you'd have many different INI files or configurations per environment, or you could just use one if it's all the same. For us, we don't care if it's Citrix Zen apps, Citrix Virtual Apps, Amazon AppStream, WVD remote apps. It's Windows to us, so we can publish to any of them. And
So
as far as the
I could have
cloud
a very vanilla, Windows-based, let's say Windows 10 multi-session, have a cool front end with the new remote desktop agent, and all my apps are click to install, and that way you're not killing the image in logon time if
Exactly.
needed, right? So you can almost do on-demand applications as needed.
Yeah,
That's
it even
cool.
works with XenApp servers, and I know I'm using the old term, but
Yeah.
that's what we all know about, right? So if you put that out there for a group, let's say you signed a new app for the HR department, and Sally clicks on it first, she'll see it mount, but the rest of them, it's instantaneous. It's already there. It's already attached. So the user experience is only better for the second and after user.
Yeah, so the first user takes the hit, and then the remaining users get the benefit. So that's pretty cool. So a good question came in from Ian. So how do you make changes for settings of an app that would be in HKey current user? Would that be on the VHD, or is that made and stored in the NTuser.dat? So again, I guess generally, how do you guys deal with HKey current user and settings within that?
That's where we comes in Profile Unity and what we call our portability settings for the applications. And we have all these rules here out of the box. And for a specific app, say, we were talking about the architecture engineering apps, we would, if we needed to, create a custom rule set, or we could just capture those app settings within these default portability rules, and they would be hived off to a portability folder on your home drive or any location for that matter. It could be AWS S3 or Azure Blob, and it gets zipped up very quickly and sent over to that share. And that's actually what I did here in this login on this desktop.
That's where you start to see why Profile Unity and FlexApp work so well together, because we capture everything from the application data standpoint. Now, there's related things that the question may have been about too, right? And that is we have a differencing disk for users that's created when you get multiple users using the same, and that takes care of some of that temporarily before it's written back to the user profile and kept separate, with the hive that Mark just showed. And while we're talking about registry too, Profile Unity excels in this area. It runs with admin rights across everything that it does. So when you do have the need to fix up the registry for something, and it's related to that, we run with admin privileges. So we'll reach up, and we can even, with Profile Unity standard rights, it will be able to write things with HK local machine as well. So it can reach any of those levels to do a fix up, to eliminate a run once dialog or anything after packaging. So you can go back and fix some of that stuff in packaging, or you could roll out a registry key that might modify the behavior of the app.
Exactly. The two go hand in hand very symbiotically. FlexApp for the application, Profile Unity for its application persistence and settings.
All right, and then since we're so follow on question came in. So I'll kind of ask it a different way, Ian, if you don't mind. So you guys, currently, obviously FS Logix is now owned by Microsoft, so it's it's still a pseudo competitor, but not really. So I would say yes, you guys work with FS Logix. And can you kind of cover that a little bit? And then you know what you know, and then could Profile Unity essentially replace Avanti Environment Manager, but also could FlexApp work inside of Avanti Environment Manager?
So I didn't really touch on environment management, but it's something very important to an architect. We often relied on a lot of our UEM tools that we all know and love, Group Policy, Avanti, Res, all the, you know, our ancestors as we grew in this space. However, it can't be understated how important it is, and you need a fast agent. Sometimes Group Policy is just too inefficient, and that's where Profile Unity also comes in. Leveraging our registry, portability, file associations, all the things you would do in these other tools, you could do in this console, but then use that one agent to do it. So you can use the one agent for the portability, the user environment, and for FlexApp.
Mark, can you hit Control Plus on that machine so we can read some of those icons a little better?
Sure, sorry.
Yeah, and while you guys are doing that, I'll you know, I'll kind of comment too. I generalize, you know, kind of FS Logics. You know, I love it. It's a great technology, but it's not dealing with, to your point, Mark, the experience, right? And so user profile percent, we all know what that is. Essentially, what FS Logics is great at is taking that profile, slapping it in a VHD, and truly making it portable. So it helps with, you know, obviously log on, et cetera. And then you can layer FlexApp on top of that, and now you have a truly, you know, vanilla experience as far as an image is concerned, right? And so that's the value that I see. And for those folks that are looking to go to, like, you know, WVD and do Win10 multi-session, the biggest headache, in my opinion, is apps, right? And that's where I love this solution. But then parallel to that, you guys can do environment, right? So you can do some basic environment management as well, or not basic, but some great environment management. And by the way, I've always said this, I love your UI. So
thanks. So portability, the portability settings there are what really can go hand in hand, and Mark is opening that up to show that. So we have demonstrations online that shows a very robust profile using both portability. There's a portable profile, very granular. You see all these rule sets in here, 34 in this configuration. That's what that red number means. We break the profile up into 34 file and registry sets. And that's how you hive it, right? And we do delta differentials. So that means every time the user's logging on, we are restoring 34 things to make for a portable profile. If you run with FS Logics, we start to only do delta differentials. So maybe only 3 of the 34 have changed. And now you can have 2 FS Logics profile disks, one for your multi-session 10, one for your server 2016 environment in WVD, for example. You could even coexist other types of profiles for your physical environment, for your Citrix environment, for your VMware environment. And this portability rule set will keep them all in sync. And you can have multiple OSs, as I already stated, servers 1 and 10's another. You could even have Windows 7 in there, and we will do delta differentials. The user gets one profile. They don't get multiple singular FS Logics profile disk, or for us, we have a profile disk too, right? So you can run with FS Logics. We make it extremely better because an FS Logics profile disk is good for one operating system version, and that's all it's good for. With portability added to it, we look at it as almost if it's a local profile, and we remediate, we hive, and we update, and we keep them all in sync. And a profile disk can become corrupt into user.dat, as you stated, Pete, and this portability will build it back right away with the 34 rule sets, and you can actually roll back, and you can set this in the console to roll back maybe 5 times, 5 different times we're backing it up to 99 times, and you can restore that so you never have to tick off your end users and say, I'm gonna have to reset your profile. And now for the next hours and days, over and over again, they're recreating their Alex signatures and they're frustrated. All that goes away when you're running Profile Unity portability in addition to a local profile or an FS Logics profile disk or even our own profile disk.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I would say, Ian, if you're, you know, happy with your current solution, hey, good. But if you're looking at an alternative, I would highly recommend you check out the Profile Unity stack as well.
And we can reach all the way to system root and system drive and append things that are outside the profile to make those portable as well. So if a homegrown app or some app did not write to the right part of the user area and it's writing the program files, we'll pick those up. You just write a quick rule set. Now you have 35 rule sets, and it'll start making that and treating that portable. And I think that's part of what Ian's question might have been about too.
Yeah. All right. So kind of coming to the top of the hour. So final question and final wrap for you, Mark. But and not a final question, but question for this segment while I wrap the webinar. And you can kind of wrap up as far as what you want to show. But the final piece, and this always comes up, is licensing, right? So how do you guys deal with, for example, Adobe? So Adobe Pro, licensing, like how does that work? And do you guys abide by licensing? Because that's a common question I hear a lot when it comes to app layering.
Mark, you want to take that or me?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jason. Yeah,
Well, the licensing is going to be tricky for any way you deliver an app outside of the traditional one-to-one installs, right? So sometimes you need a licensing server, and those are nuances that you'll have to get in a little deeper for each individual use case. So we don't take care or wipe your licensing requirements clean. You'll need to adhere to those, and a lot of times a licensing server from those vendors is the way to go to check for the license across the network. Right, Mark? You in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it also depends too. So like Adobe, for example, kind of has taken the Microsoft model where you can now use a user ID and log in and pull the license that way. So if you're using the Adobe Creative Cloud stack, it's very similar to Office 365.
Right.
And I know old school Adobe, it was very dependent on the INI file. So I'm guessing, and I'd have to do some more homework, Gilbert, but this is going back to my old packaging days, but the Adobe, they were known for doing unique INIs per install. So if you had a multi-user scenario, it wasn't technically supported. And so you'd have to do a license server, to Jason's point. So, but I know if you're using Adobe Creative Cloud, it prompts you for your username and identity as part of your when you launch the app, and then it pulls the licensing centrally, kind of very similar to Office 365. And the only thing I would have to do some homework on is the packaging process, which I think you're going to kind of highlight a little bit right here, Mark. So I'll let you start talking. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So every application suite that has more advanced licensing is going to have their own packaging nuance, whether it's an INI or some type of licensing component, or even its own, what was FlexNet comes to mind. And that could be incorporated either into a base image, or we could set INI paths, or maybe a database path, ODBC connection within the packager. Okay, so it's very easy to do. You can have multiple packages linked together. You can incorporate them into a one package with scripts linking them together, very flexible, hence again, Flex app. So I'm just going to run through this really quickly. I'm going to do a test for Pete. It's going to be Notepad++, and I'm going to store this over to an Azure blob. Okay, I'm going to click create. Now the first thing it's going to do is it's going to go out and create a VHDX. In this case, it's going to mount it, and it's going to launch the installer. Okay, once the installer kicks off, I'll run through the install mechanism. Now, if there was a customization that had to be done, I would do it here. I can also reboot, and the FlexApp packaging console will persist and allow me to continue. I'll just run through this really quickly. Boom, done. Now, once that's done, it's going to show me a file.
Mark, as you're doing that, a question came in that's kind of pertains as you're doing this, and I'm assuming if you only own 10 licenses, you could lock the package down to only being launched 10 times. Is that a fair statement?
Our filters are so granular. When I watch the guys configure it for a customer, you can only allow 10 people to have access to that, and you could meter that. You could see who's using what right from the console. Yep. So yeah, we're not a licensing management solution, but you could use it to restrict access, definitely.
So you could assign it to 10 users specifically.
Exactly.
But it's not going to replace. It can't be like a concurrent use system.
Right. We don't count how many times it's in use, but you can limit the number of users.
Yeah. So the package is created. I'm just going to click save. and that's it. It's now out on test for Pete, Azure. Okay, and as you can see, I got a ton of other things here, guys. I've got them everywhere, file server, Amazon, and Pete, that's why you saw that logon taking a little longer. I'm pulling them from all over the country. So
No, that's
And
cool.
this
I
is-
think it's
stuff.
great. Shows the
This is where you would
flexibility.
also update these once you packaged them.
Yep.
Mark Jones wanted me to mention the package edit. This is where you would edit packages. So you could create a new one and age out the old one, or you could come back in here and actually modify a package. And that's where you see the icons to the right. One of them's an edit area, and you can edit them once you take them offline. That's why they're grayed out. Yeah.
All right.
And guys, these are our cloud apps. You would just download the appliance, spin it up, and then deploy these cloud apps just to get a look and feel of Flex app.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, yeah. First off, last call for questions as I cut over and kind of wrap the webinar. I understand that we are at the top of the hour, so if you got to drop, I totally understand. But I like to cap it off and finalize the webinar. And as I cut my screen back over, so final call for questions. Definitely throw them into the Q&A dialogue. And as we wrap up the webinar, really quickly, XenTegra. If you don't know who we are, this is Andy, our founder and CEO. Andy founded XenTegra on a simple premise. He wanted to help enable customers. So we really focus on enablement, and we also focus on true partnerships. So this is an example here. XenTegra and Liquidware are really, partnering very heavily, not only on the WVD front, but just generally in the EUC space. So keep an eye out for some new workshops that we're going to be launching by end of day today, and it's going to be a 3-hour hands-on, so you'll be actually be able to learn how to do what we showed you today. So really quickly, yes, I can sell you and work with Liquidware. So Mark Jones as an example, and we can enable you to get access to Liquidware. We can sell Liquidware, and we can actually help you get it deployed as well. But the benefit of that is not only just buying Liquidware, but it's also we are the experts in cloud computing and end user computing as well. So we can help you be that single vendor and help you get this truly deployed across whether you're doing Citrix plus WVD, VMware plus WVD, or all the above. So that's the benefit of working with a partner. So again, if you're not a client, we'd love to gain your business. If you are a client, thank you. And if you want to get a deeper demo, definitely let us know. I definitely encourage a deep dive, and someone will be in touch to open that door if possible. And again, I encourage definitely trying out the product, getting your head around it, and I really love it. I actually have it running here in my lab, and I've been playing with it the last few days. And if you want to get an overview, a little deeper overview, we're more than willing to hop on the phone and dive deeper and help you get a POC spun up. One of our SEs, Randy, is I'll call him the app layering guru outside of Liquidware, and is very knowledgeable on all the different technologies. So I'll do one final call for questions. And as I do that, I'll put one final call for thoughts from our panelists. So, Jason, any final thoughts from you?
Well, Mark gave you a great place to download and try this. Obviously, it's in the Azure Marketplace. We're also out there in the Amazon Marketplace. So if you're dabbling in some of those other things, you can try us there, or you can just come to our website and download. There's a 15-day trial included in all of our solutions. So you could be playing with this afternoon if you're sitting here in quarantine, bored, and looking for something to do. So we greatly value the partnership with XenTegra, and we'd like to thank you again, Pete, for having us on.
Yeah, no, thank you, and thanks for joining us. And Mark, Naus, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody and wish everybody safety and health in this trying time. And as an architect and an engineer and fellow, end user computing fan, I encourage everybody to go try this technology. It's not like a decade ago where this was frowned upon. Microsoft has even embraced this now with companies like FSLogix and what they're doing with their upcoming products. So this is real. It's supported. Give it a try. I think you'll see some great results, and cut down those images. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, exactly. And then Mark Jones, any final thoughts from you? And
oh yeah, absolutely. First of all, once again, appreciate you having us on this, and just really here to make sure everybody understands that we're working hand in hand with XenTegra. So give them a call. Let's get some POCs put together. Chris, my SE, and I will be glad to support that. And as everybody mentioned earlier, it doesn't take long to get this up and running. the packaging piece to me is phenomenal, because basically we add maybe 2 seconds to the packaging process. So
Yeah.
you can get these things going as fast as you can. The package editor, if you made a mistake, you can go back and actually change it without having to repackage. So a lot of cool things. The smart guys in the room here did a good job today. But just, contact XenTegra. Let's get some things rolling.
All right, and with that, I'm going to call today's Webinar Wednesday a wrap, and I want to thank the Liquidware folks for joining me today. And if you're available in less than an hour, I am going to be doing another one of these with Nerdio. So if you're doing any type of WVD deployment, or you're thinking about WVD, definitely jump on in the next at 1 o'clock, and I'll be doing a similar flow with the Nerdio folks. And then next week, we have our friends from ControlUp joining us to jump on and do a webinar Wednesday. And then we're also going to be highlighting our networking practice. So look forward to seeing some of you on future events. And again, thank you to Liquidware for jumping on today and joining us. And I look forward to building this partnership and having a great time doing it. So thanks everybody, and have a great day.